Behind closed-doors hallway was quiet. Too quiet. Only the low hum of distant voices and the occasional sound of someone walking past reminded the building it was alive. Behind one door, laughter. Behind another, rehearsals. But behind the door marked dressing room 4, there was silence. Heavy still. Broken only by a breath that wavered like someone was trying hard not to cry. Keanu Reeves stood just outside that door. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not really. He had wrapped up early. His car was waiting. His assistant had already handed him his coat, but something made him pause. I had passed Anna's room on the way out, like always. He wasn't eavesdropping. Not at first. But the moment he heard her voice, soft, cracking, barely above a whisper, he stopped. He thought maybe she was on the phone. Maybe she was running lines. But then he heard his own name. Anna's voice was quiet. Not angry, not loud, just tired, drained. I try so hard to smile. I try not to let it show. But sometimes I feel like I'm failing. And Keanu, he's always so kind, always so calm. I don't want him to see me like this. Keanu froze. Every word she said struck him like a ripple of cold water. He had always thought of Anna as strong. Not just in the way she carried herself on screen, but off it. There was a lightness to her. A grace. She made people feel seen, heard. But now she was hiding. Inside, Anna sat on the edge of the couch, talking to someone on a voice message probably. Her sister. Her hands trembled as she held her phone. Mascara smudged under her eyes. She hadn't meant to cry today. But pressure builds quietly. Sometimes I feel like I'm not enough, she whispered. Like I'm just pretending to be. This version of myself that people want, but I'm tired. I miss home. I miss being me. Outside, Keanu leaned gently against the wall, his hands still on the strap of his bag. He didn't move. He didn't breathe too loud. It wasn't his place to interrupt. But it wasn't in his nature to walk away either. His thoughts spun. Had he missed something? Had he overlooked the signs? He remembered the past week Anna, laughing at rehearsals, cracking jokes, always present. But maybe that smile had been holding something back. He stayed there for a long minute, unsure. Then another voice came from inside. A makeup assistant. Cheerful, unaware. "Hey, Anna," the director said. "We're starting late. You've got time if you want to rest." Anna wiped her face quickly, voice steadying. "Thanks. I'll just sit here a while." The moment passed. The door stayed shut. Keanu stepped back slowly, quietly, careful not to be heard. He walked away, but not far. Instead of heading to his car, he sat down on a bench down the hall and waited. He didn't text her, didn't call. He just waited. 20 minutes later, Anna stepped out. Her face was calm, fresh makeup, confident walk. She looked like herself again, or at least the version she gave the world. She nearly jumped. When she saw him, "Keanu, I thought you left." He smiled, warm and calm. "Nah, figured I'd wait. See if you wanted to walk out together." Anna blinked. Something in her chest shifted. She smiled just a little. "Sure, that'd be nice." They walked side by side. The silence between them soft, not heavy. And even though Anna didn't know what he had heard, Keanu did. And from that moment on, everything changed. He saw her a little differently now, not weaker, but braver. Because hiding pain behind a smile takes a kind of strength most people never recognize, and Keanu did. He always had. The unspoken promiseth next morning, Anna arrived on set early. The sky was still gray, the sun not yet fully awake. The studio lights hadn't been turned on, and the halls were quiet, filled only with the click of her boots and the soft rustle of her coat. She needed the quiet. It had been a long night, not because of anything dramatic, no news, no emergencies. Just thoughts. Thoughts that wouldn't stop circling her mind like birds looking for a place to land. She had cried too much. Yesterday, not in front of anyone, thankfully. But just knowing she had let herself fall apart, even in private, left her feeling raw, and yet, a part of her kept thinking about Keanu. Why had he stayed? He hadn't asked questions. Hadn't looked at her like she was fragile. It just waited. It wasn't the first time Keanu had done something like that. It was who he was. Patient, quiet, kind in a way that didn't ask for attention, but something about yesterday felt different. Anna walked toward the empty rehearsal room, hoping to have a few minutes alone to collect herself before the crew arrived. She opened the door and stopped. Keanu was already there. He was sitting in the corner, a book open in his lap, reading by the faint morning light coming through the high windows. He looked up and smiled softly. "Morning," Anna blinked. "You beat me." "Couldn't sleep either," he said, setting the book down. "Figured I'd come in early, get a little quiet before the chaos." She nodded slowly and stepped inside. "Yeah, me too." They didn't talk much, not right away. They sat in silence for a few moments, side by side now, watching the light rise. Anna glanced at him. "You're always calm," she said quietly. Keanu chuckled. "I'm not. I just try to breathe a little slower then." The storm. Anna smiled, even though the sadness hadn't fully left her.
"Oh."
"Do you do that? You learn," he said gently. Usually after falling apart a few times, those words made her pause. She hadn't expected him to say that. "You've fallen apart?" Keanu didn't look away. More than once. Anna studied his face. It wasn't the face of someone untouched by pain. It was the face of someone who had survived a tand, come out softer, not harder. "What did you do?" she asked. Keanu leaned back, thoughtful. "I stopped pretending I didn't feel things, and I let the right people see me." The right people? Anna swallowed hard. Maybe she had been hiding for too long from everyone, including herself. They were quiet again. Then Keanu said something that made her heart skip. "I heard what you said yesterday." Her breath caught. She turned slowly, her lips parting, but no words coming out. "I wasn't spying," he said gently. "I just happened to be walking by, and then I heard your voice." Anna looked down, shame rising in her chest. "Heard all of it?" Keanu nodded. She felt like her skin was too tight, like her heart had been left out in the open. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want anyone to hear that." "Why not you? Why not me?" Keanu asked. She looked up. His eyes weren't judging. They weren't filled with pity, only care. "Because you see me as strong," she said. "And that version of me? Yesterday she wasn't." Keanu shook his head slowly. "No. She was braver than any version I've seen." Anna blinked, her throat tightening. "Pretending you're okay all the time, that's exhausting." He continued, but letting it out even once. "It takes courage." Anna sat still, the weight of his words pressing into her. Not heavy, just true. She exhaled. "I've been holding too much in." "Then let me help carry it," Keanu said. That line so simple broke something open inside her, not in a bad way, in a healing way. She looked at him, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like she had to perform. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft. "For waiting and for listening." "Always," Keanu replied, and he meant it. The rehearsal room slowly began to fill with people. Voices grew louder. Makeup teams rolled in. Directors started calling names. But for a few more minutes, Anna and Keanu stayed in that quiet bubble, untouched by the noise outside. And for the first time in weeks, Anna felt lighter. She wasn't alone. Someone had heard her pain, and instead of turning away, he had stayed. A quiet shift. Days moved quickly after that morning. But something had changed softly, silently between Anna and Keanu, not in a loud or obvious way. There were no dramatic moments, no grand confessions, just quiet glances, shared silences, and a sense that one heart now understood the other without needing to speak. They rehearsed like usual. They laughed between takes. But under all of it, there was something deeper, a kind of understanding that made every moment feel more honest. Anna started arriving a little earlier now, and Keanu somehow was always there already. They never made a plan. It just happened. Like their hearts had agreed to meet before their mouths had spoken. They didn't talk about that afternoon again, not directly, but Anna noticed the way Keanu would pause to check on her before a scene. The way he'd bring 2 cups of tea instead of 1. The way he'd sit with her after a long day without asking why she looked so tired. One afternoon, during a lunch break, they sat outside under a wide tree behind the studio. Most of the crew was inside. It was quiet. Just the rustling of leaves and the faint smell of coffee drifting from the open door. Anna looked at Keanu, watching him sip his tea, his face calm. "Do you ever get scared?" she asked. He looked over. "Surprised, all the time, but you never show it." He shrugged lightly. "Doesn't mean it's not there." Anna leaned back against the bench. "I always thought being brave meant not being afraid." "No," Keanu said, setting down his cup. "It means being afraid and still showing up." Those words stayed with her. They finished their tea in silence. But it was the kind of silence that healed rather than hurt. Later that week, a new scene was added to the schedule, an emotional one. Raw. Personal. Anna would have to cry on camera, not just a little bit deeply. A breakdown. The kind of scene that could only work if she stopped acting and actually felt. Anna stared at the script for hours. Her chest felt tight just reading the lines. "You okay?" Keanu's voice came from behind her. She nodded quickly but didn't look up, just nervous. He sat beside her, didn't push. "This scene," she whispered, "it's too close to how I actually feel." Keanu waited. Anna took a breath. "I'm afraid if I let it out here." Keanu placed his hand gently over hers. "Then don't try to stop it," he said. "I'll be there." Those 4 words, "I'll be there," mattered more than anything she had heard in weeks. The next day, the set was quiet as they prepared to film. Cameras were ready. Lights were dimmed. The crew was silent. Everyone knew this scene mattered. Anna stood in the center of the room, wrapped in her costume, trying to breathe. Her chest was tight. Her fingers trembled. Across from her, Keanu watched, his face calm, his eyes steady. The director called action. Anna began the scene. The lines came slowly. Her voice wavered, and then, without warning, it hit her. Real emotion. It's the pain she had buried. She looked at Keanu, and suddenly, it wasn't a scene anymore. She wasn't acting. Tears rushed forward, hot and unstoppable. Her breath shook. Her body bent under the weight of something she had carried too long, and Keanu, he didn't flinch. He stepped forward, gently held her hands, looked her in the eyes, and whispered his next line, not loud, not forced, just honest. "You're not alone." Anna collapsed into the moment, sobbing for real. Not because the script told her to, but because someone finally gave her the space to fall and the safety to rise. The director didn't yell cut. No one moved. The room held its breath. When the scene finally ended, Anna stood quietly, her face wet, her body trembling but lighter. And Keanu, he was still there, just like he promised. Afterwards, they sat outside again. Anna stared at the sky, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "I didn't know I had that in me." Keanu smiled softly. "I did." She turned to him, searching his eyes.
"How?"
"Because I've seen you," he said. "Not just the actress, not just the smile. All of you." Anna didn't speak for a while, but in that silence, something inside her healed. Not because the pain was gone, but because someone had stayed to witness it. The moment they didn't talk about it was a Friday night when it happened. The shoot had ended late. The crew had packed up. Everyone else had gone home, leaving behind the quiet hum of forgotten lights and a few half-empty coffee cups unfolding. Chairs. Anna sat alone in the back of the soundstage, arms wrapped around her knees. She wasn't sad. Not exactly. Just ... full. Too many emotions packed into one week. She needed a moment before facing the outside world again. And like always, Keanu found her. He didn't call her name, didn't ask if she was okay. He just walked over, sat beside her on the cold concrete floor, and waited. The air was still, and the silence was kind. In that stillness, something in Anna began to unravel. Not in pain, but in peace. "This place feels so different when it's empty." "She," whispered. Keanu nodded. "Everything feels louder when it's quiet." Anna laughed softly. Yeah, especially your own thoughts. They sat like that for a while, no makeup, no cameras, just two people trying to breathe. Anna looked at him. You ever feel like we're trying so hard to keep everyone else from worrying about you that you forget to worry about yourself? Keanu turned slowly. More times than I can count. She leaned her head against the wall. I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel anymore. It's like I'm living two lives. One that smiles for the world, one that just wants to rest. Keanu didn't rush to answer. He looked at her and said quietly, then rest. You don't owe the world a smile every day. Anna felt something crack inside her again, but this time it didn't hurt. It opened. It made room. Why do you do it? She asked. Why do you always show up for people like me? He looked down for a moment, then back at her. Because I know how it feels when no one shows up. Those words made her chest ache. There was so much pain in that simple sentence. So much history. She wanted to ask him more, but didn't. Not now. Instead, she reached over, gently touched his hand and said, Thank you. Keanu looked at their hands, then up at her. You don't have to thank me, he said. Just don't carry it all alone. Anna nodded slowly. Then came the moment, the one they never talked about afterward. A moment that wasn't planned, not scripted, not expected. Anna looked at him, eyes filled with something between exhaustion and clarity. Keanu didn't speak, didn't move. He just waited. And then softly, slowly, Anna leaned her head onto his shoulder. He didn't flinch. He didn't shift. He just let her rest there in silence. The warmth of his presence, the calm in his breath, the safety in his stillness. They stayed like that for minutes that felt like forever. And in that quiet moment, no one watching, no cameras rolling. Something changed, not romantically, not dramatically, but so well. It was the kind of change that happens when two people finally stop pretending to be okay and let the truth breathe between them. The next morning, nothing was said about it. They met on set like always. Keanu handed her a coffee like usual. Anna smiled as she took it, fingers brushing his just slightly longer than before. But something about her was different.
Drama, lighter.
She walked differently, stood differently. Of course he did. But he didn't say anything, because some moments don't need to be talked about to matter. Some are meant to live quietly between two people held in memory, honored in silence. Later that week, Anna got a call from her agent. A major award nomination. One of the biggest of her career. She should have screamed, jumped, celebrated. Instead, she felt still, not numb. Just centered. Because for once, her worth didn't feel tied to applause. It felt tied to something real, someone who had seen her. Break and stayed. Anna looked at her phone, then at the hallway outside her trailer. She didn't even have to call him. Keanu was already walking toward her, and when their eyes met, she just smiled. He smiled back, no words, just understanding. The weight he carried, Tuna had never thought of Keanu as someone who needed saving. He was the steady one, the quiet one, the one who noticed things no one else did. He carried calm like a coat, never loud, never flashy, but always there when the wind picked up. But what she didn't know, what no one really knew, was that he carried weight too. And some nights, it pressed harder than others. It was 2 weeks after the silent night they never spoke about. The show was almost wrapped. Just a few scenes left. Most of the crew was already talking about their next projects, their vacation plans, their excitement for the premiere. But Keanu had grown quieter. Not the usual quiet, the kind she had come to understand. This was different. Anna noticed it when he showed up late one morning. His eyes were tired, not from sleep, but from something deeper. "You okay?" she asked gently. He smiled the way people do when they don't want to talk. "Yeah, just a long night." She didn't push, not then, but it stayed with her. 3 days later, she found him sitting alone on the back steps of the studio. The sun was setting, casting gold light across his face, but his expression didn't match the warmth around him. He didn't hear her approach. He was too far in his own thoughts. Anna sat down beside him without a word. He glanced over, surprised at first. Then he gave a half smile. "Caught me." She didn't smile back. "You've been carrying something," she said. Keanu sighed, resting, his elbows on his knees. "I didn't want to bring it here." "You bring all of yourself," Anna said softly. "You taught me that." For a long moment he didn't speak. Then slowly he said, "This time of year is hard for me." Anna waited. "My sister died in July," he said, his voice low. "Years ago, but some anniversaries, they don't let go." Anna's breath caught. She had never heard him talk about this, not once. Not in interviews, not on set, not in passing. He continued, his tone steady but distant. "We were close, really close. I watched her fade, and there was nothing I could do, nothing anyone could do." Anna placed her hand gently on his arm. He didn't pull away. "I don't talk about it much," he admitted. "Not because I'm ashamed, but because people always try to fix it, and some things you just carry." Anna nodded. "But you don't have to carry them alone." Keanu looked at her, and in his eyes she saw something she hadn't seen before. Vulnerability, not weakness, but the raw ache of love that had no place to go. Anna leaned her head against his shoulder this time. Not for her comfort, but for his. "I'm here," she whispered. Those 2 words meant more than he could say. The next day on set, Anna brought 2 mugs of tea, but this time, one of them had a small note taped to the side. It read, "For the things we carry and the people we miss." Keanu saw it and smiled a full, honest smile. "Thank you," he said quietly. Anna shrugged, but her eyes were kind. "You waited for me when I broke. This is me waiting with you." They sat side by side during their break, not saying much, but the silence between them was full of memory, full of understanding, full of a connection that had grown not from attraction or fame, but from moments that most people never see that weekend. The studio hosted a private dinner to celebrate the end of filming, everyone dressed up. Laughter echoed through the courtyard. Music played. Champagne flowed. Anna wore a simple blue dress. Keanu wore a black suit. It's understated but graceful. They didn't arrive together, but they found each other quickly, as the evening grew late. They stepped away from the crowd, standing near the edge of the balcony that overlooked the city lights. "We made it," Anna said softly. "We did," Keanu replied. She looked at him. "Do you think people can really carry each other's pain?" Keanu thought for a moment. "I think they can't carry it for you, but they can sit beside it, and that makes it lighter." Anna smiled. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I was going to wait till the wrap party, but ... this feels right." Keanu took it, curious. It was a handwritten note, simple, honest. "Thank you for staying when I couldn't breathe. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Thank you for letting me be the one to see. You too." Keanu read it slowly. Twice. He folded it carefully and slipped it into the inside pocket of his jacket. "Over his heart, I'll keep this," he said. "I know," Anna replied. And they stood there, 2 quiet souls who had found comfort in each other's honesty. They didn't talk about the future. They didn't need to. What they had now this moment was enough. What they never had to say, the final day of filming arrived with the kind of quiet that only endings bring. There was no dramatic farewell, no drawn-out speeches, just the soft goodbyes of a cast and crew who had built something meaningful together. "We're now preparing to walk away." Anna stood in her trailer, staring at the costume she had worn so many times before. It hung neatly on the rack, clean and pressed, ready for the final scene. But today it felt different. It wasn't just a role. Ending it was a chapter. She turned toward the small table near the window and saw the folded note she had been carrying for weeks. It was addressed to Keanu, not because he needed a letter, but because she needed to say something the right way. With her whole heart, she tucked it into her coat pocket and stepped outside. The final scene was short. Anna and Keanu stood under soft light, their characters saying goodbye on screen just as the actors were preparing to do off it. The director whispered action. Anna stepped forward, looked into Keanu's eyes. The words came easy now, not just because of the script, but because of the truth between them. "Thank you," her character said, "for everything." And Keanu's reply, though written long ago, felt more real than anything he could have improvised. "I'd do it all again," the director called. But no one moved. The room was still, because everyone knew what had just been captured wasn't acting it. It was a goodbye built from months of showing up, holding space, and healing in silence. Anna turned away first, her throat tight. Keanu stepped forward, gently touched her shoulder, and whispered, "You were brilliant." Anna smiled, though her eyes filled with tears. "So were you." After the wrap, people hugged. Photos were taken. Laughter echoed through the hallway. Champagne bottles popped. Congratulations were exchanged like currency. But Anna looked around for one face. He wasn't in the main crowd. She stepped outside and found him. Keanu was standing near the edge of the parking lot, his coat draped over one shoulder, looking up at the sky like it held something he'd been trying to remember. "I thought you left," she said. He turned, smiled softly. "Not yet." Anna walked toward him, hands in her coat pockets. She stopped just inches away and pulled out the letter. "I wrote this for you weeks ago, but I was scared to give it." Keanu looked at the envelope, took it gently, didn't open it. Instead, he looked into her eyes. "Thank you." "For everything?" Anna asked. He nodded. "For seeing me." Her voice was quieter now. "What happens now?" Keanu took a breath. "We go where we're meant to go. But what we shared, this connection, it doesn't disappear. It just lives with us." Anna nodded slowly. A long pause. Then she said something she'd been holding for days. "You saved me, Keanu. You really did." His eyes softened. "You saved me too," he whispered. They didn't hug. They didn't cry. They just stood there in the cool air. The people who had carried each other through invisible storms. And then Anna turned to leave. After a few steps, she stopped, turned back, and smiled. "See you in the silence," she said. Keanu's single quotes, a smile deepened. "Always." Weeks passed. Life moved forward. Anna traveled for press. Keanu returned to a new set. They didn't talk every day. They didn't have to, because something had changed in both of them. Anna no longer felt the need to perform off camera. Keanu no longer felt the need to carry his pain alone and on the hardest days when the world felt too heavy. They both did the same thing. They sat quietly. They breathed slowly. And they remembered the person, waited outside when no one else did.